Hello, good evening, everyone. After such an enlightening session by Michael and Mark, moving towards the next session on empowering the new age of growth. Innovations have swept the government nomenclature over the past decade. Today, fast moving and evolving trends in digital technologies are leading to a radical change in citizen expectations. The nature of these evolving interactions is horizontal, empowering, and spontaneous. In many ways, the exact opposite of the traditional hierarchical, bureaucratic, and rule based systems government developed over the decades. Presenting you Himanshu, President Strategy and Key Initiatives from ValueFirst, and Jitendra Vijay, CEO, Meti Startup Hub. Over to you guys.
Happy to have you in conversations with us today. So the first question I would like to ask you is how the culture of the government is changing and how technology is driving this innovation.
Himanshu, that's a really interesting question because when we look at the larger perspective of the concept of innovation, right, it's not necessarily about new products and not only about providing better convenience and services, it's a cultural shift.
Yeah.
And from that perspective, if you look at what the government of India has done over the last 5-6 years, since the particularly, let's say, launch of the Digital India mission back in 2016, that has brought in a transformative change in the way things are being done, both in terms of people that are being onboarded, policies that are being developed, practices that are being internalized, and the result outcome orientation that the government is seeking to realize. So, for instance, when we look at even in my own case, so coming from a private sector, now working with the government and bringing in the perspectives of having done this thing in US and other countries and trying to figure out how do we develop better practices? How do we bring more private sector orientation in terms of the outcomes that we are looking to realize and the policies that we are developing? In particular, let me touch a few things on the technology aspect that we are doing here now. Technology has changed, especially in the time of pandemic, that we have realized that technology is a great equalizer. And technology is paramount for the success and sustainability of our civilization as we move upon the industrial revolution curve. And our honorable Prime Minister has always been very keen when he says, maximum governance and minimum government. And technology is that one tool that allows that. It enables us to execute on the governance mandate without creating too much of barriers for people and creating hardships in their life. And in the last 4 or 5 years, if you look at it, since the Digital India mission launched, India has become the second fastest digitizing country. The digital divide in India is narrowing between, let's say, 2014 onwards. The 10 states with the highest rate of growth in internet subscription, 7 states had per capita GDP lower than India's average. And I'm harping on the internet subscription and the access to data and connectivity because that's what enables transactions to happen. That is what enables economic activities to happen. And so there's a strong correlation between availability of internet and connectivity and the economic activity. Now, within the larger framework, there's 9 key areas that we are focusing on in terms of how is the citizen's life being improved across various verticals. One is that IT and telecom infrastructure should be available. Second is e-governance for the future. So minimal regulations and minimal interface with the human beings. Third is a healthcare for all. So National Digital Health Mission has come up through that. Quality education that we are looking at. And education should be based on the customization of the individual as well as the language barriers that exist. So making education accessible, affordable, and inclusive through technology. Then there comes the energy for all. We're an energy dependent nation. So how do we actually incorporate that? Then fintech. Fintech, you have seen, has become a major part of our society in terms of UPI and everything we have done. Another element that we are looking at is farmers' income. So our PM had put the vision of doubling farmers' income. And how does technology do that? Through the whole ergonomics, right? From sowing the seeds to the harvesting of the crop, there's a huge role of technology, be it on surveying of the land, be it the what kind of seeds are being sown and how do we harvest it to increase efficiency and productivity. And then the Make in India initiatives that have come. So there's a lot of these things that are being happening where technology is playing a very intrusive and transformative role in the government to make people's life a little better.
That makes sense. I think a couple of them, when you said fintech, because we are the kind of company we are in, we power a lot of messages for fintech companies, even on the agri base and the rural base, kind of communicating to them through voice or through messaging or through WhatsApp. The power of WhatsApp communication has really evolved. You can send a lot of rich content. Obviously, with the COVID vaccine, it's also changed a lot in terms of how the OTPs are being powered and how all the digital certificates are being given on WhatsApp by the government. So I see this change happening on an everyday basis, even as a user and as a company also. So that's great to know. Thank you. And the next question basically is in terms of how is the government, you spoke about this a bit, how is the government bridging the gap between, and how the technologies help bridging this gap between people and the welfare schemes? How are they delivering these schemes now much better? And how are they communicating to the people who require these schemes much better?
So yeah, when you talk about COVID, right?
Yeah.
So the COVID app that was developed.
Yeah.
That was, I think, one of a kind across the world.
Yeah.
And now we are actually able to export our intellectual property to help less developed countries as well. Because ministry was heavily involved in the COVID app challenge as well, in terms of developing, various modules and figuring out from social distancing all the way to adverse outcome reporting. Right? Anything post-vaccine, how anything's happening. But aside from COVID, if you look at it, UPI. UPI has been a government initiative, and that has made India the largest fintech market in the world. We are surpassing every other nation. You name it, from US, Europe to anywhere else. We are the fintech leader in the world at this time, and all because of the UPI that we have created. Aside from that, if you look at the various initiatives, for example, DigiLocker, where the secured documents are available. Look at the government e-marketplace, GEM, where the procurement of government is happening through this e-marketplace. Look at the GSTN. GSTN has been a radical solution for bringing India to the 21st century. And then we had the Jan Dhan bank accounts. We had the direct benefit transfer schemes. And during the pandemic, we realized the impact of these schemes and programs because we have a huge country with a lot of heterogeneity, both in geography, both in demographic. And it was these technology-enabled DBT and other schemes which enabled our governments and our people to actually navigate the crisis of this pandemic with the minimal impact that we could possibly try to do. Of course, there's a lot of room for improvement, but these technological solutions were a key parameter and pivotal point which allowed us to achieve what we were able to achieve. Now, that has brought incalculable benefits in terms of ease of living for all sectors of society and all geographies of India. Another example, if you look at it, India has become the leading country in terms of digital penetration. More than 124 Aadhaar cards have been issued, 120 crore mobile phones have been there, 49 crore internet subscription, and more than 3.12 lakh common service centers are there. So all these assets and initiatives are connecting India in a way that was not possible before. Because creating a physical infrastructure is very capital intensive.
Yeah, definitely.
And India doesn't have that kind of capital and resources available. But digital infrastructure is an outcome of intellectual horsepower. And our country is blessed with a demographic dividend and a very, what I like to call our youngsters and the people, right? We have drive, dreams, and we are so passionate. And then, we have the Jugaad mentality. We have the mentality of creating.
I think with Jugaad, we get anything done. So I think that's why we are more entrepreneurial in nature, because we know how to do Jugaad all the time.
Right. So all these things have enabled, for solutions to come up. And government and our Prime Minister was very visionary when he said that, Startup India will create the future, because startups of today are the industries of tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely.
It is these startups that will create a unique competitive advantage for India, because we cannot beat China by becoming like China, right? We cannot become the manufacturing hub of the world.
Yeah.
Right. We can become the technology hub of the world. We have to move from being an IT services country to IT products country.
Yes, definitely.
Focus more on SaaS, focus more on products, which can be actually exported to the rest of the world.
I think that's happening now with few big players. It's happening now. We see that happening.
So there's a lot of these things that are happening, which is allowing us to actually, take what our innovators, entrepreneurs are creating, and with the government support and facilitation, make these products see the light of the day and access to the market.
Yeah. So that's great. So so much is happening in e-government, and so much, and the government is doing so many e-government initiatives. What do you think is the future, and what is next in e-government? Because there's so much already done. Is there more to do, or this is it? We have reached our stage, and we just have to make it reach people, or what's next?
See, I mean, this is the beauty of humanity, right? When Darwin said it, evolution, right? Yeah. So we are destined to keep evolving. We are destined to keep moving forward. And technology is a tool that allows it. Now, of course, technology comes with its own positives and negatives. So we have to harness the technology the right way. But if you look at it, just 2 weeks ago, our Prime Minister announced the Gati Shakti, a mega initiative to create the national master plan for multimodal connectivity.
Yeah.
And so the goal is that there should be a coordination and integration of infrastructure development across railways, airways, roadways, waterways, and the overall setup. Because currently what happens is every ministry is doing various things, but there's at times there's no visibility and coordination. So everything should be digitized and should be on a platform whereby there's a coordinated and a planned development happening. Because a lot of the difficulty that India faces in export is that our cost of production goes high, and a huge part of that cost of production is the logistics. India doesn't have the logistics efficiency that is needed to make our products competitive. And so this Gati Shakti is a logistics master plan, whereby we can create efficiency and make our products more competitive, because it reduces the cost, reduces the time, reduces the fuel consumption, and enables better planning by the corporate sector. So that is also happening. But if you look at it, Modi ji had previously said, data is a new oil.
Yeah.
Right? And India is creating the largest amount of data at this point.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, with data, we have to figure out data localization, data privacy issues, and all the issues that are relevant for citizen privacy and citizen, safety and security. But India is only $2.5 trillion economy right now. We are nowhere near the future, right? Yeah. So if you look at US, it's a $20 trillion economy almost, right? Yeah. So there's a long way to go. And technology gives you that margin in terms of the profitability and growth.
The exponential growth will come from technology, basically.
Exactly. So there's going to be huge growth based on the technology sector. And now government is working on the national mission on AI. So how do we create responsible use cases for AI? AI governance, AI ethics of AI, right? So these are the futuristic technology where ministry is very heavily involved in. We are looking at data policies as well, in terms of data anonymization, data exchanges, and metadata, in terms of how do we effectively use this data. Because ultimately this is what will help us create the $1 trillion digital economy that we keep talking about. And overall, the theme that we're looking at is technology should be inclusive, it should be affordable, and it should work for everybody. And now if we look at open API based ecosystem.
Yeah.
I mean, that's you guys forte, you would understand.
Yeah, we do the APIs, we understand that at least. And I think even with the government, a lot of APIs are open now. We could build on top of COVID, we could extract data and work and collaborate. I think that's what the government is doing. They're creating a collaborative environment, which is very important, because instead of developing everything else, they're welcoming entrepreneurs to take initiative and bring in that change, which is what is required, and also support them in this growth. So I think the government is doing a lot of good work on that side as well.
Oh yeah, exactly. Because if you look at be it fintech, agri-tech, health tech, ed tech, and other text-based innovation. Ultimately, it's all data-driven, and ultimately, if we allow that open API-based platform, we can really create, a platform economy built in cloud and fueled by data.
Yes,
that is what we need to be striving for. Is a platform economy built on cloud infrastructure and fueled by data. And if we're able to execute on this, then sky's the limit in terms of the kind of innovation we can realize and the kind of products that can be developed, and the overall human lives can be improved.
Great. Thank you. So I guess you're giving me the broader idea of what the government is planning in e-governance and the next steps. So coming back to the Indian startup ecosystem, right? It's a vibrant ecosystem. It's growing. It's exponentially growing. The government is supporting it. What is the role of the ministry, MSHA, and what's the role of Mighty in this? And how are you empowering this growth for the next stage?
This is the interesting part. Since I'm heading Mighty Startup Hub, which is a part of the ministry focused on consolidating all the initiatives, programs, and schemes of the ministry pertaining to startups, investment, innovation, and IPR. So when we look at it, back in 2016, again, when Startup India Mission was launched, there were startups before. We didn't really, startup hadn't become a buzzword, but there were entrepreneurs creating their own jobs and doing things. But since then, if you look in the last 5 odd years, from 2016 to 2021, there has been a huge cultural shift. Before we used to say that being an entrepreneur means you didn't get a job. Right. So you became an entrepreneur because you couldn't get a job. But now you will see all the IITs, IIMs, people from leading universities, people who can easily get high-paying jobs, are choosing the route of being an entrepreneur. That's a cultural shift that we have seen. It is the empowerment of an individual that we have seen today that is allowing this. And before, we all used to head out to US or UK or Australia or Canada or somewhere else, right? And we would create companies there, or we would get jobs there because it was a more enabling environment. But the government's vision has been like, if the Indians can go abroad and create so much there, why can't the Indians do in India for India, right? So it's the access to the resources and exposure to the environment. And hence this Startup India mission was created, and which has supported so many incubators at this point, so many startups. India has more than 50,000 registered startups now, making it the 3rd largest startup ecosystem in the world. We have close to 70, 80 unicorns now, and the rate of rate at which unicorns are being created is only increasing. So I'm looking at what next is going to come next month and what 2022 will hold, right? So there's so much happening in India today, and now Mighty as well supports these startups, right? So you got Startup India doing its part. You got Atal Innovation Mission working on this mission. You got DST working on it. You have BIRAC focused on healthcare and life sciences, and Mighty is focused on electronics and IT-oriented deep tech startups. And so what we are trying to do is that we have more than 3,000 odd startups associated with us. And our goal is to help them in multiple ways. One is that provide early funding intervention, because Indian funding ecosystem is not as robust yet. We are still in the early stages. So there's a risk capital is not available for seed funding and prototype and proof of concept level. And that's where government has been providing a lot of funding initiatives whereby startups can get funds for prototype development, product development, commercialization. We even provide funding for IP filing, reimbursement if you're filing patents, international as well as domestic. There's a reimbursement policy.
That's pretty big.
So ultimately the goal is that we need to capture the opportunity share, right? Not just the market share, but the opportunity share. And that comes when you can file patents and protect your IP.
And that doesn't happen a lot in India, like filing for IP and patents. And in US, it's all about the patents. So I think if we move into that culture and where we protect our IP, because sometimes if your startup doesn't work, but your patent might get sold after a couple of years.
Right. Absolutely. Because see, IP not only protects your company, but it builds valuation as well.
Definitely.
So we have various schemes focused on IP filing. We provide funding at early stage. Also, we have funding for market access. And we also have what is called Electronic Development Fund, It's a fund of fund managed by Can Bank, which invests in a SEBI-registered VC funds, which invest in electronics and hardware-oriented startups.
Okay, amazing.
Because there's a lot of investors for SaaS and software and the platform-based companies, but for electronic and manufacturing company, it's not there.
Yeah.
So that's why we provide a fund of fund structure as well for large-scale funding of them. Aside from that,
again, sorry to cut you. Again, that is very good because SaaS businesses, people are understanding now more because there have been some SaaS success. So when people have seen success, they want to invest in that. Once you create this environment of success in electronics and manufacturing, people will jump into that also and go and invest. So if the government takes the first step, people will follow.
No, absolutely. And, though we know our strength lies in SaaS and software, but we cannot, negate the hardware part of our society.
Definitely.
Ultimately, hardware and software are becoming one. Now it's not about products. Yeah, it's about smart products. Yeah. It's about the technology that talks, right? It's automation. Yeah. So hardware needs to be integrated with software, and then only you can enhance the customer experience, user experience. But aside from that, so what we are doing is we are helping startups with market access. Because government is a major customer because of its footprint. So how do we actually bring an innovative, high impact solution which can support the overall social fabric of the society, be it on the governance side, be it on the logistics side. So providing access to startups to the government market. Third thing that we are doing is we are building linkages with the global startup ecosystem. Okay. So the Indian startups can take their product internationally. So even at MIT, MSH, we have various programs running with Germany, with France, with UK. We are looking at Middle East as well. So the Indian startups can go over there for market expansion. Another thing that we look at is working with other ministries to enable ease of business for startups. So how do you, give them the benefits and access and reduce the burdens and regulations?
And also information, I think, because like being a startup or even being a corporate, getting clarity on the laws, getting information of what is possible, what is feasible, what is not. I think if you create that environment within MIT and MSH, it'll really change and it'll really help people bypass the paperwork.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's one of the key things because see, ultimately, entrepreneurs don't really need much. They only need an enabling environment.
Yes, definitely.
So, providing funding and early stage support is important. Helping with market access is important. But most important need for any entrepreneur is give me clarity, give me consistency, and let me operate and let me maximize on my capabilities. And so our goal is to work with various ministries and departments to figure out how do we reduce the burden and provide more clarity for these startups. So that's the other thing. And one of the things that we do is we work closely with corporates because ultimately, corporates are a critical partner in the ecosystem because they are experts at scaling. They are experts at innovation in terms of product portfolio diversification. So a startup can build something very early on, but how do you actually take that company from 50 to 500 to 5,000 people, right? So you need to bring on mentors. So we have a Gurukul program to bring a lot of mentors on board. Then there's a need for upskilling of startups. So we have a startup school program to help startups learn more about finance and market access, customer acquisition. Yeah. Then we have a program that's actually focused on working with corporates to get discounted product for our startups, be it Microsoft Azure or AWS or Paytm, all these corporates that we work with to help them get access to the corporate environment, either through their production plants and facilities for prototype deployment and development or pilot projects. So we are doing a lot with the corporates, and also we work a lot with the academic institutes because they have a lot of labs and our startups need access to labs for initial prototyping and product development. Yeah. We work closely with the research organizations so we can give them access to that. So we are doing all these things, and we have set up, we are supporting 51 odd incubators currently. We have 26 Center of Excellences in deep tech areas, blockchain, robotics, 5G, AR, VR, VFX, spread out across India in hub and spoke and cluster models. We are running various accelerator programs, a fund of fund scheme. So the ministry has been working diligently to identify all the issues that a startup faces from an idea level to the exponential growth level. And what are the gaps? What are the weak points? Where can the government intervene? to provide support. That's the approach we are taking to provide the maximum benefit we can to the maximum number of startups so they can all realize their dreams.
So just before we finish, if I'm a startup and I need help, how do I approach you? I go to the accelerators, I go to the website and ask for help. What's the way for me as a startup to come and ask for help?
See, I'll tell you one thing. So first I'll talk about us. So there's multiple ways, right? So the best way to start is go to our MSH portal, and you will find all the resources there in terms of all the incubators we are supporting, all the center of excellences we are supporting, all the current active schemes we have, all the programs we have, all of that is available. Second is we really like to be in touch with the startups. So we have a Twitter account, LinkedIn account, Facebook, Instagram. We are on Coup as well. And we have so we are on all the platforms.
Yeah.
And so the startups can connect with us, can know what is coming up, any new scheme or policy or initiative we are launching. We are publicizing it as much as we can in the startup community, directly through our social media channels, as well as through our partners and our community of startups.
Okay, that's amazing. I think that really help people approach. So there's a lot of startups here and ask for help and get the guidance to basically get enabled to do what they're supposed to do. Really looking forward to that.
No, and I would say that we are here for the startups and we are here because of the startups. So the onus is on the startups that government is trying to do things. So they need to reach out, they need to share their concerns, their interests with us, and help us come up with better programs, policies, schemes, initiatives that can actually benefit them. So anyone who's interested, feel free to reach out directly to me or to our team through our email and the portal and the various handles. Because the more startups we are connected with, the better decisions we can make in terms of the programs and the support they need.
I think that's also one thing which has changed in the government is become more approachable. Having worked with the government before and now, I've seen that it's more approachable and people do respond and give you time. So I think that's fantastic. Anything else you want to advise our viewers in terms of the startup ecosystem or the business? Anything else you want us to know? And obviously, thank you for taking our time and being part of the session with us.
No, I mean, thank you so much for hosting us. It's a great pleasure to get our voices across to our community. And you and your company are doing fabulous work. So it's always great to interact with you guys. My only parting thoughts are that, we are coming out of pandemic now. Yes. We are restarting our economy. We are restarting our lives. And there's so much happening. India was on a trajectory till 2018-19. We were moving in a different track.
Yeah.
But then we had a hard stop. Now we are relaunching. But trust me, India is a rainbow of opportunities, be it on any sector, health tech, agri-tech, defense tech, infra tech, you name it. There's so much to be done. And there's so much initiative and interest from government and private sector that keep working on it. Reach out to the people, connect to the incubators, not just my team. Reach out to Startup India, reach out to Atal Innovation Mission, reach out to BioRack, MSME, DST, you name it. Every ministry is doing something or the other for startups today. So there's plenty of opportunities. You just need to be persevering. You need to be engaged. You need to not give up. And you need to connect with as much people in your community, be it investors, be it mentors, be it incubators, be it other startups, and be it corporates. We ultimately, the reality is socially constructed. So the more people we engage with, the more things that we engage in, the more ideas we get, and the better solutions we can develop. So it's all about building new connects. And now with the digital interface that we have, right? With Zoom and with all the VC platforms we have, we can connect with anyone in the world.
Yeah.
So feel free to connect, feel free to expand your network. And opportunities abound. We live in a world with no boundaries anymore for capital or intellect.
Yeah.
So it's all about connecting and it's all about collaborating to create a better future for all.
Great. Thank you so much.